Let's begin with the looming shutdown deadline itself. Senator Barbara Boxer is a Democrat from California, and Senator Chris Coons is a brand new Democrat from Delaware. He sits on the Budget Committee. Senator Boxer, this is a strange one. Politics is about arguing. It's about compromise. It's about numbers. But is this fight tonight about numbers? You say 3, I say 5, okay, 4. What's it about?
Chris, I'll tell you what it's about. Last night, there was a meeting at the White House till the wee hours of the morning. There was an agreement on the numbers. I'll be specific. We Democrats, understanding you got to cut, even if it hurts some of our beloved programs that we think help people, we agreed to go 78% in the direction of the Republicans. Now, mind you, they control 1/3 of the government that's dealing with this. In other words, they got the House, but Democrats have the Senate and the White House. We didn't say, okay, you're 1/3 of the powers that be, we'll go to you 1/3. We went to them 78%. They had a deal last night, and there was one outstanding issue, which Boehner said he couldn't absolutely move his people on, and that was family planning and women's health, Title X. It is not all about Planned Parenthood. I have to say this to you because Planned Parenthood does get 25% of Title X funding, but in my state, we have clinics called names like St. John's Clinic, and we have clinics that are run by hospitals and cities and all the rest. So this is the fact. There was an agreement. Harry Reid is a man of his word. We know, we have the facts to back it up. The deal was cut. And can you imagine if you and I argue, and we've done that in the past, if one of us comes 78% to the other, I mean, that is really remarkable. We've solved the numbers problem. They are stuck on women's health. And I got to tell you, I'm going to tell my people the truth. If this government shuts down, it's because they want to stop breast screening for women. They want to stop cervical cancer screening for women. They want to stop blood pressure checks and diabetes help for our families. 5 million families count on these clinics. This is really insane as far as I'm concerned.
Well, maybe it is. Let's take a look at what Speaker Boehner said today about what's holding up the deal. Let's listen to the Speaker.
All I can tell you is that almost all of the policy issues have been dealt with, and there is no agreement on the spending level, and we're working to try to get there.
Well, Majority Leader Harry Reid said the only obstacle, as Senator Boxer just said, is the Republicans' rider to defund women's health services from Planned Parenthood. Let's listen to Senator Reid, the leader.
It will be crystal clear to the American people that Democrats were reasonable and Republicans are responsible for shutting down the government. The fact that Republicans have made this about women's health and not about money or anything controversial is really a shame.
Well, let me get back to this, Senator Boxer. Well, let me go to Senator Coons, if you don't mind. Bring him in here, a new guy on the block. Senator Coons, this is unusual because we've had budget fights as long as I can remember, certainly as long as Barbara Boxer's been in the United States Congress. This is what you do. You argue over numbers. You reach an agreement. Out of nowhere comes this rider, so-called, this added cultural question. Not necessarily, it could be, I guess, applied to abortion, but it's really about birth control. And as the senator said, about women's preventative health situation, where you want to prevent health problems. And, of course, if you want to prevent a pregnancy. Why do you think the Republicans are fighting to the last person on this fight? What's this about?
Well, Chris, it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, this is no way to run a government. It's no way to run a business. We're more than halfway through the current federal fiscal year, and every federal agency, from the Small Business Administration to the FBI, doesn't yet know how much they've got to spend for the current fiscal year. We should be talking about our economy's health, not fighting an ideological war over women's health. This ought to be a clean spending bill, one that allows us to come to agreement, as I believe we have, on how much to cut out of this year's budget, pass it, and move on to dealing with the big issue, the $1 trillion issue, which is our long-term debt and deficit, and making progress in passing an FY12 budget. Instead, for 2 months now, we seem to have been stuck as the folks on the other side and in the other chamber have moved the goalposts several times. I think they need to learn how to hear yes. Democrats, folks in our caucus in the Senate, have agreed to significant cuts and significant concessions this year. I think we need to reach agreement and move on.
You ran against a very charming full mooner in the last election, someone who was way out there politically. I'm beginning to think that the full mooners have taken over the Republican caucus. This is the kind of thing that the Christine O'Donnell would be doing, finding something in Planned Parenthood. Senator Boxer, this seems like the Republican Party is not the party of Tom Kuechel or of anybody you can recognize in the Republican Party from California over the years. It's a party that's sort of, it's almost like the Birch Society that's taken over the party.
Well, let me give you a better one than that. Do you know, Chris, who signed the Title X program into law?
No, I don't know.
Okay, Richard Nixon, Chris, in 1970. And do you know one of the co-sponsors of the legislation that set up the Title X women's health program? George Herbert Walker Bush. So this crowd over here has left the Republican Party behind. And all I'm saying is I am appealing to mainstream America, regardless of party, weigh in here. And I would say quite simply, if you ran 1/3 of the government, all right, and the other 2/3 decide to come over to you 7-8% of the way on cuts, you should say, as Chris Coons said, thank you very much, we did it. And let's get on with it. They can't do it because they have become this extreme faction in America. And it is stunning to me. And I have to say to every one of my Senate colleagues and House colleagues, call up one of the 4,500 clinics in America that get this funding. Only a quarter of the money goes to Planned Parenthood, so we know Planned Parenthood, and by the way, not a penny can be used for abortion. You know that. That's been the law forever.
I know the law, the Hyde Amendment.
But call the others that get this money, and they will tell you they save lives every day by doing these important HIV/AIDS testing and blood pressure and diabetes testing. And 50% of the people, of the 5 million Americans that use these clinics, that's their only health care. And these boys want to shut them down along with the federal government. And I will tell you, Chris, I've been around here a while. You know that. I have never seen anything like this in my life. And it reminds me a little bit about Wisconsin. Remember in Wisconsin, they said, oh, all this battle is about numbers. And then the unions came in and said, we'll give you the numbers. What it really was about was taking away their rights. What this is about is taking away women's health. That's what it's about. It's not about the numbers.
You know, Congressman Coons, I don't know how, I guess you're sort of a regular Democrat, not a really extreme Democrat based upon your state. I guess that's where you are, Senator Coons. On the issue of abortion rights, I think most people would like to see less abortions, so that they believe in the right to a woman to choose, of course, but they believe in fewer would be better, probably, for a lot of reasons. And birth control is one way to do that. In fact, it may be the profound fact here that the Republicans are holding up what is really a federal program to encourage women to plan children, to have them responsibly and make responsible decisions, including the use of birth control, and making that available to poor women by the millions. Why would somebody who's anti-choice or pro-life, if you will, be against birth control? It doesn't make any logical sense.
Chris. What you're saying there just happens to reinforce strongly how irresponsible this is. The $300 million that's spent every year on Title X women's health services, as Senator Boxer said, a program that goes back to 1970, was launched with strong Republican support, as you're saying, is something that gives access to health screenings, to cancer screenings, and to contraception, and to contraceptive counseling for low-income women all over this country. There's 26 health clinics in the state of Delaware that receive Title X funding, 5 of them Planned Parenthood affiliated, the rest not, and they provide critical services that help make sure that the children who are born in Delaware are wanted children, are healthy children, and more than anything, to make sure that women in Delaware have access to health. I can't believe at this point in our economy, we're fighting over this narrow ideological issue. It's turned into a fight over trying to shut down Title X. There were 60 riders on this bill when the continuing resolution came over from the House. And what the folks in our leadership have been negotiating vigorously with Speaker Boehner about over the last couple of days is steadily knocking them down one by one. Things that would have defunded the EPA's enforcement authority, would have shut down public broadcasting. Now we're down to one last issue. The Democrats in the Senate have made significant reductions in spending. We've committed to joining in making significant cuts in federal spending. The only thing that's left here is about ideology. And as you point out, even for those who might be very concerned about making this their #1 issue, cutting Title X doesn't make sense. So if we have to have a fight about abortion rights, about life versus choice, let's have that fight. But a spending bill is not the place to have it.
Okay.
All of us agree we ought to get back to focusing on jobs. Chris, if I could give one last example, this Monday morning, next week Monday, my Senate office in Delaware has been working very hard to pull together a great job fair. We expect 1,000 unemployed Delawareans to come to an all-day job fair. We've got 50 companies lined up to come and help people interview for jobs. If the federal government shuts down, my Senate employees can't pull off that job fair. I've reached out and gotten volunteers and cooperation from our wonderful Governor Jack Markell and our state government, so we'll still be able to pull it off. But if you think about how many other things won't get done Monday to help Americans get back to work if we actually shut down, I think it's outrageous.
Okay, great to hear you. Senator Barbara Boxer, as always, my friend, thank you so much for coming on Hardball tonight on this strange night. And I don't think this is about abortion. I think this is about birth control, which is one of the strangest things we've debated in a long time.